Welcome to Neuro Stories, the podcast that highlights the people behind neuroscience at the Walton Centre. Together, we'll lift the lid on the complex worlds of neurology, neurosurgery, and everything in between, hearing fascinating tales of the incredible staff and services carried out in the hospital every day.
Are you in the middle of something?
So I'm Laura Parker, Ward Manager, Complex Rehab Unit at the Walton Centre.
So Laura, tell me about you. Tell me about nursing and why you got into this profession.
I think it came when my very close auntie was like a mum to me. She had an aneurysm, but we didn't know at the time. And she was treated in the hospital in Preston. And I went to see her. And I remember just sitting there watching the nurses thinking, I'd love to do that. I could do that.
When was this?
24 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, they were amazing. I just remember watching it because growing up, all I ever wanted to be was an air hostess.
Really?
And I never got there. So I never aspired to be a nurse. And I was what you call a mature student.
So how old were you when you started?
32.
Right, okay.
And I had 3 small children as well.
So what did you do before nursing?
So I've done a few things. So over my time, I've worked in bars, I've worked in a club. I've worked as a living nanny. I worked in a factory. Nothing major, yeah. Always worked, but I think at that time, because you're young and the money, in a factory, I stayed in the factory because the money was great.
Yeah.
You know, so I got through me driving and everything. I'd never done care work. And I'd say to my husband, I really want to do it, but we couldn't afford to at the time. And then following that, after a couple of years, I think because I moaned that much that I wanted to do it. So this one day my husband said to me, and I remember it because I was standing in the garden, and he said to me, why don't you just do it? And I said, we can't afford to. He said, do you know what? He said, we'll just do it. He said, it doesn't matter, we'll get through, we'll do it. So I applied for the access course to nursing, and now here I am.
So how long have you been a nurse for then?
12 years, I think. Oh, it's been an adventure. I've done different roles. My first role, I was a frailty nurse. I moved to be a deputy ward manager for a winter ward. Then I moved to be a deputy ward manager somewhere else. Then I moved to be a ward manager. Then I moved to be a matron. And then now I'm here. I've done a fair bit.
Were there reassuring moments?
Absolutely. I loved the practical side. Loved it. Show me something and I'll give it a go. It was the academic side that I didn't like because I struggled. And the more I did the practical side of it, the more I knew this is what I wanted to do. So the best thing I ever did.
And what's it like for you personally caring for people?
I love being with my patients. That's the beauty of this role as a ward manager. You're still with your patients, you're looking after your staff, but you can still go in every morning and you know the patients who you can have a laugh with. It's just the best thing. Then I get up every morning, just drive here thinking, I wonder what today's going to bring. It's brilliant.
Do you like that? Like not knowing what's coming through the door?
Sometimes. I mean, on the complex rehab unit, it's different because we have planned admissions because they are very complex and we do have them for some time. But that is great because we get to know the families, we get to know the patients. They become part of your family, don't they, on there? It upsets everyone, I think, in a good way when they progress and they're going. And we have a lot of patients come back to see us as well.
To visit, to let you know how they're getting on.
Yeah.
Patients may have had a traumatic brain or spinal injury or a condition, a neurological thing. That means that they have to relearn a lot of things, all those things that we all take for granted. They must have their challenges.
We do have challenges. We do, and I think everybody does, but our challenges are nowhere near what the patient challenges are. You try and mitigate that. You could be having a bad day, but at the end of the day, you're not having as bad a day as the patients who are there. But the biggest challenge is doing the best that you can do to get the patients the best that they can.
When they get to that point where they can go home, what's that like?
If I'm honest, it's kind of like, oh, what do you mean you're going home? Because it's great, they're going because they've progressed. It's like people who don't progress and they end up going somewhere else. It's not upsetting, but it gets you because you think they've been here. Some people are there for 6 months. Some people are there for 9 months. And these people are relying on us every day. So sometimes the mood can be affected. But us as staff, they will make an effort and go into each patient. They'll have a little bit of a laugh. It is just like a big family. Even people who we've had who can't verbalise and things like that. Because we get involved with the families and all the MDTs that we do, we know that person. A lot of them we know inside out.
Some people would say you're there to provide the care and not that extra bit.
Well, I disagree. Because as a nurse, it's the passion in people. I can't personally come in and look after the patient and then just think, right, job's done, I'm going. That's not what we are on CRU.
What kind of things motivate you?
I think because I love my job, I love the staff, I love the patient. We're a fabulous team. Everybody mucks in. The staff generally, from what they tell me, enjoy coming to work. I enjoy coming to work, and I think if you've got a positive group of staff, you're not going to go far wrong.
Does it take resilience?
Yeah, because it's a hard job. The ward manager is such a difficult job because you've got your ward manager role to do, which includes everything, HR, MDT working, you're a bit of everything. You've got to have resilience because not everyone agrees with what you do. Some people come along and, well, we don't like that you've done it that way. So you've got to build that resilience. And also, you've got to have that resilience for when people do become unwell or when they do go. Because although it does hit us and we think, you're sad for a bit, they bond with other patients. And we've had one not so long ago. This patient didn't come out the room, full stop, for months. Yeah. And then this other patient took the patient under the wing, and here he was out in his wheelchair. It was absolutely gorgeous to see. And when that person had gone, who took him under the wing, the other person sobbed in the middle of the ward. And we all filled up. He's going on to better things, but this patient's still there, and he's had that support from the other patients. It's a mixture of everything.
What would you say the most rewarding part of your job is?
You go home and you've done a good job, and the staff are happy, the patients are looked after, they've got the best care. I've made a point of, because I know communication is the biggest thing for me. Got to have communication on every level. So giving relatives my email address, and I've had plenty of emails, just asking me general questions, and I respond to it and we sort it. So there's not a bit that I can say I dislike, but I think that's just me being a nurse because I'm very passionate about it, as you may have gathered.
Some people's favourite part of the podcast episode now, the quickfire round. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
What would you be if you weren't a nurse?
A mum.
Good answer. What's your biggest hobby?
Going on holiday. Palming over on Friday.
Favourite song?
Simply the Best, Tina Turner.
Favourite book?
I haven't got a favourite book.
I haven't got time to read by the sounds of it.
No, I haven't.
Favourite film?
Oh, Dirty Dancing.
Food you love?
Curry, Indian food.
Any, like the hottest or?
No, medium.
Like
yeah.
A good tikka?
No, tikka's mild.
Is it?
Yeah. I like a Dansak, Boona, Rogan Josh, Sagwala.
Excellent. Food you hate?
Liver. I mean, we used to feed it us every week.
Growing up?
Yeah, and we all used to either spit it in the toilet or wrap it up. Well, no, sorry.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
I was worried one day in work about something, and one of the consultants said to me, "What are you worried about?" And when I told him, he said, "But can you change it?" And I said, "No." He said, "So why are you wasting your time worrying about it?" And it stuck with me from that day. And I think it's the best advice anyone's given me because I am a worrier.
What's on your bucket list?
To go to Australia.
Ooh, why?
So I always wanted to move to Australia, but my husband won't. I did offer to say I'll FaceTime him every day. He can keep the kids over here, but no. And then the kids obviously I didn't do my nurse until I was 32, and then the kids were a bit more, so yeah. And I've got a granddaughter now, so I can't go.
Who's your hero?
I would say my husband, because we've been together since we were 18. He's my soulmate, he keeps me sane. He makes me laugh every single day, and I mean, I'd never tell him how amazing he is, but he absolutely is.
And what's something very few people know about you?
I'm not very confident, and I know you're going to say, really? But I'm not. People think that I am because I come across confident, but inside, I'm confident about the things I know well, but other things, I'm not.
I was just going to ask you as well about your previous roles. Do you find that you had skills from those roles that have come in handy on the ward?
Yeah, communication. Because you can't serve someone a pint of beer without being able to speak it. And I think as well, because I was exposed younger, about 15 in the pubs, because my mum and dad would go to the pub and we'd go for an hour just to get a bit of money or, whatever you do. So everyone knew us. In the clubs, in the factories, you've got to work with people, you've got to speak to people. There's nothing worse than if you can't speak or you're not willing to. One of the things for me is you've got to have a sense of humour in any role that you're in. But I think we've got to keep these patients upbeat because some patients have people who don't come in.
Over the years, have any patients stood out to you?
There's a few that stick with me from my previous roles and one or two from CRU. We had a patient who had not spoken to his family members since he'd been in. He's been in about 5 or 6 days, because we get patients from everywhere, so it's not as easy for people. They don't just live around the corner. Family had rang up every day, but they'd not spoken to the patient. Took the handheld phone, gave it to the patient, couldn't hear. So looking for his hearing aids, eventually found them, still couldn't hear. So I spoke to a family member and said, have you got FaceTime? And they said, yeah. I said, well, let me take your number and we'll FaceTime you. So took the number, FaceTimed, but the patient was elated, identified them. We tried the number again and there wasn't anything. So put the relative on speakerphone and he could hear her. So they were having a lovely little chat, just saying, like, oh, I haven't seen you, and things like that. And, we'll try and come and see you soon, And the patient was he was elated. He's just smiled all afternoon just because he got to speak to her. We're great and we'll keep your spirits up as much as we can, but we can't be there all the time.
Yeah. How does it make you feel?
It tore at me the little heartstrings, because it was lovely to watch and listen to, because when the patient was saying, I've not spoken to you, it's lovely to hear your voice, it was breaking my heart, but it is what it is. It had to be done, just for him. Yeah. And then you've got CRU. I remember a lady, I'd only been on CRU a few weeks, and it was a young patient, couldn't do anything for herself, nothing at all.
Like completely immobile?
Completely. Couldn't do a thing. She walked out. I was like absolutely flabbergasted, because I'd only been there a short space of time and she'd been there quite some time before I come, but I just couldn't believe it. It felt like, oh my God, it's like magic.
That must feel really good.
It does. And I think if you'd asked all the staff, they'd say the same.
Yeah. What are you excited about for the future? What do you think is going to be really good in terms of nursing?
It's a difficult question, that, to be fair, because I think we can always improve, and I'm a believer of that. We've always got scope to improve, but it's just so good at the minute. When I come to rehab, it's not what I thought it was. When you look at it as a whole, the patients now are coming in quicker into rehab. They're being accepted, they're getting in quicker. Everyone works together, so it's identified at an early stage of these patients. They get a period of time there to see where they're up to, and then plans are made for them where we move them along if they're not. So then the next person comes in, So I don't know. It's a difficult question, because I just think it's fabulous as it is. And there will be some, changes, but we roll with change for the best of the patient, and, everybody, we roll with that.
What stays with you about patient care?
The quality of patient care that we give it's everything. The patients themselves, the appreciation that you get from the patients, the staff, it's all of it that stays with me. You go to other places and you're always going to compare, you try not to, but the care on CRU is absolutely amazing care. It really is. You've got all the right equipment, you've got everything available to you. It's an absolutely amazing unit. It is.
What are the family like when you come home and you talk about work?
I don't talk about work. Right. I don't talk about work. Sometimes I do, if one of the patients has been there for 12 months and all of a sudden they've gone, or if I see something in the paper that was one of our patients or something, then I might say, my husband doesn't listen anyway, Sam. Pointless even talking to him. But I will say to the kids when they're driving, be careful.
Yeah.
And I might say, we've got a young person in ours who's had a crash, and this is this, because that scares me now. I drive home from work and think, God, that could be me in there. And I think it does open your eyes in that way. It really does.
You must have someone that you speak to.
My 6 is on CRU.
Your nurse colleagues?
Yeah, my sisters, and we're all very close knitted. So anything we talk, don't get me wrong, there's loads of people we can talk to. This trust, I've got to say, are absolutely fabulous at looking after the staff. I've got trust with my sisters and they've got trust with me, because sometimes things can be a little bit negative, or you've had a negative experience and you need to share that. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Neuro Stories. You can listen to more episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and you can stay up to date with the latest news and events from the hospital on our social media channels, at the Walton Centre on Facebook and Instagram, and at Walton Centre on X. If you've got any feedback, email the communications team at wcft.communications@nhs.net. This podcast was recorded, edited and hosted by Sam Fleet from the Walton Centre's communications team.